Καλησπέρα σας. Να πω και λίγα ελληνικά, αλλά... Mr. Minister Evan, it's a great pleasure to have this very special session with Google, supported by Google, a very important initiative that will be announced today. Google is very close to our heart at the Athens Democracy Forum, because when we started the conference 13 years ago with the New York Times, Google was the very first supporter. And then when the New York Times decided to make this an international conference, because we started it being a 2-hour event at the Stoa of Atalos, Google became our headline sponsor and have been with us for a number of years. Very interesting topics, always. However, I have to say this year, it's more interesting than ever, more pertinent than ever. We also started this year's Athens Democracy Forum with a very special segment or module that Minister Papasteriou helped us with on AI, ethics, and democracy. We devoted quite a few sessions on this topic, and it was very well received by our audience. So this, in many ways, is an extension of that discussion that we had the first 2 days. In addition to that, we've had a program running for about 4 years now, Teens for Democracy, that was actually inspired and founded by 2 teenagers, 2 15-year-old teenagers that came to me 5 years ago and said, we want an Athens Democracy Forum of our own. We want to talk about the issue of fake news. We want to talk about issue of climate. We want to talk about all these issues that are our future, and especially big focus on social media in this, what's supposed to be a grown-up forum. And it is a grown-up forum. It has become more grown-up now because we do have 50 to 60 teenagers every year being an integral part of the forum. And actually, the teenagers are starting to help us formulate the program every year. So without further ado, I want to get the ball rolling. I want to say thank you to Evgenia for your faith for many years now, but especially this year, for deciding to do this event under the auspices of the Athens Democracy Forum. Thank you to Google, and I would like to call on Chloe Setter from London, I believe. I live in London as well, so it gives me great pleasure to welcome you.
Good evening, everybody. Kalispera. That's the only part of my speech that will be in Greek. I apologize. But welcome to our Google event called Growing Up in the Digital Age. My name is Chloe Setter. I lead on child safety public policy for Europe at Google. I've spent 15 years working in international child protection. In this time, I've seen how transformative the internet has been for young people who truly are growing up in a digital age. As a 40-something-year-old woman who remembers being a teenager without a phone, who remembers a frustratingly slow internet, I can only begin to imagine what it is actually like to grow up in a digital age. I mean, I work at a tech company and I have an analog watch. That probably tells you a lot. But it's often people like me in roles like mine who are advising on safety and well-being. But no matter how experienced I might be or how well-intentioned I am and my work is, I can only ever imagine what life is like as a young person now, growing up in this time, which is exactly why Google has commissioned some research, which we are here launching today, called the Future Report. This is a study that captures the views and insights of more than 7,000 teenagers across Europe, offering us a crucial and fascinating insight into what it really is like to grow up in a digital age. And you'll hear a little bit more about the research from one of the researchers themselves actually shortly. But I'd like to tell you just briefly how we approach child safety at Google and why we know how important it is to listen, to learn, and to act. So we understand that growing up in the digital age brings both incredible opportunities, but also complex challenges. We feel strongly that children should be protected in the digital world, not from it. And our commitment to building age-appropriate experiences and spaces that can help children learn and thrive underpins everything that we do. This is our approach, and it's built on our 3 pillars. We say protect, respect, and empower. So when it comes to protection, we're deeply committed to building these safe spaces, and we have extensive protections in place across our products. There are far too many to list here, but I can give you some examples. So everyone's probably very familiar with Google Search. Well, we have Google Safe Search, which is a filter that blocks explicit and sort of violent or gory content, and that is on by default for under 18s. In the Google Play Store, apps that are rated 18 plus are immediately blocked for minors. On YouTube, we have policies that prohibit pornography, cyberbullying, and other content that might be harmful to the psychological or physical well-being of young people. We even limit recommendations of certain types of content that young people might see, that if, for example, it is allowed on the platform, but if it's seen once, might be okay, but if seen in a repetitive way, may become harmful. So like things like unrealistic financial advice or idealized body image. And so we prohibit the repetition of those. And all of these industry-leading protections are backed by our age assurance. So we know who to protect, who to put these protections to. And our goal here is to treat a teen like a teen and an adult like an adult. So we have a sophisticated machine learning model that helps us assess whether a user is a child or an adult. And if a system detects that the user is a minor, we have these default protections in place from the start, with all of them put in the age-appropriate state. When it comes to respect, we like to think about every family has a unique relationship with technology, and so we try to design our tools and platforms to give that flexibility. We have an app called Family Link. This empowers parents to set digital ground rules. They can approve app downloads, they can manage screen time, monitor app usage, and we've recently updated Family Link to include something called school time and parent-managed contacts. So school time basically helps limit distractions during the school day, like notifications being off, and parent-managed contacts helps ensure kids can only connect with trusted individuals that the parents have approved. And on YouTube, we provide supervised experiences again, so parents can supervise their teens and preteens time on YouTube, as well as default features such as bedtime reminders, take-a-break reminders, and other tools to help promote healthy digital habits. And finally, we empower young people to safely explore, to grow, and learn and play online. We offer resources such as Be Internet Awesome, which is our online safety education program, which offers foundational digital safety skills to young people. We have something called Super Searchers, which is another educational program to equip teachers and students with advanced information literacy, which is crucial in an age of advanced AI technology. These have reached hundreds of thousands of students and teachers here in Greece and millions in Europe so far. With AI in mind, we've invested really heavily in our AI literacy with programs like Experience AI, which is designed for those aged 11 to 14 and for teachers too. And to ensure that these AI tools don't supplant learning but instead support learning, we have our Gemini app for teen students, which has guided support to help students learn more confidently, incorporating robust safeguards for under 18s and tools like things like double check, which helps young people know if something is accurate or not. To scale these important education initiatives, we support civil society to achieve these goals. And since 2018, we've provided more than 20 million euros in support of European social impact organizations, empowering children and young people to safely explore the digital world. And we've reached more than 5 million teachers, students, and caregivers. Additionally, this year, we pledged another 10 million euros to support programs in Europe to create safer online spaces, and specifically a 5 million euro grant to help NGOs support young people to understand AI, to use that safely. These programs and these resources and our products, our tools and our settings are informed by the experiences and insights of experts, but also young people themselves. And being in listening mode, as we like to say, it helps us recognize how excited young people are about these new technology and the diversity of learning and content that they get from online services such as YouTube. But we also hear sometimes that they want and they need more support, which is why digital literacy is so important to get right for everyone. They say that it takes a village to raise a child, and as a company, we firmly believe that no single entity can address the complexities of the online world alone, which is why we are fostered to committing to multi-stakeholder partnerships, working with child safety experts, policymakers, educators, industry partners, many of you in this room, to build a safer internet for all. And I can't promise that we will always get everything right, but I can promise that we will listen and we will prioritize supporting young people on their digital journeys, consistently reviewing, improving, and updating our products and our policies. We do think it's crucial for young people to be included in the online world in an age-appropriate way so that they can learn, grow, and contribute to society. So let's work together to build a safer, more trusted internet where young people can really thrive. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to today's conversations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Evgenia Bozu. I'm leading the Government Affairs and Public Policy for Greece, Cyprus, and Malta for Google, and I'm very happy to be here today in the framework of the Athens Democracy Forum to discuss this very crucial subject and issue that is bothering everyone, and it keeps us, I would say, awake late at night sometimes. And this is how we can protect and at the same time empower the young generation and the youth of Greece and Europe and the world to achieve all their dreams, all their potential, while being safe in a digital world. And for us in Google, the goal is clear. How do we protect children online without stopping their ability to learn, to create, and to participate? And today, to tackle this challenge, we have two exceptional speakers with us who are driving solutions, and they are contributing to this broader goal. First, from the policy side, we have Minister Dimitris Papastergiou. Please come, and thank you. Well, Dimitris Papastergiou is the Minister of Digital Governance and Artificial Intelligence lately.
Yes,
and I think this was only fair that this addition was added to your title, because you have been doing quite a few things in Greece on AI.
But it's very important to highlight the need to go faster and to work together for AI and with data, because now there is a new special secretary about AI and data, because AI without data is useless.
And we're looking forward to work with you on both of these.
It's my pleasure.
So under your leadership, Minister, Greece has championed the Kids Wallet app and the website parco.gov.gr, which I believe are the first tangible steps for empowering families and for kids protection that ever happened in Greece. And it was two first practical steps that, of course, have room for evolution and improvement, but I know that you are very committed in working.
We need to insist more.
And with us is Ivan Kotsovinos. He's Vice President of Google. Thank you, Ivan, for privacy, safety, and security. So Ivan and his team are developing, as his title shows, privacy, safety, and security solutions and products for Google. And his work is actually focusing on how they can do the internet and AI safer for everyone, cybersecurity, cyber attacks, a huge portfolio, which also includes teenagers, minors, youth, but also literally everyone. And in this discussion, we will be diving into the practical reality on how we protect kids and with, what different means we can leverage to make sure that minors, teenagers, kids, and families are empowered and safe at the same time, especially in the age of AI, where things are accelerating. So Minister and Ivan, thank you both. And let's start with the questions.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So opening question to both. And if you had to choose one.
You have to press a button.
Yes.
It's like,
No, it's okay.
you
You
go
go
for
first.
it.
If you had to choose one, what would be the single most important opportunity we need to prioritize when discussing the current online reality of children?
First of all, I'd like to thank Achilles for the great effort he puts every year about Athens Democracy Forum, and it gets every year better and better. I think it is exactly what Cleo said previously. The biggest opportunity and challenge is how to obtain digital literacy. We know and we see that our children are living in a totally new world, a digital world with a lot of new tools, but also they have to face new challenges and problems that when I was 15, the only problem I had is how to drive my bicycle the right way. No internet, very few computers. So from the other side, I see that children also have to think how to dig deeper and search for truth, the critical thinking. When I was at school, I was searching to tons of books to find information. Now the information is all around. It's very easy to find information. But the problem is that you cannot distinguish which is the right information, which is the truth, and which is a fake or a deep fake. So this is the first, let's say, challenge, how to give to our children the ability to find the truth and to use the right way the socials to get all the needed information and whatever they really need, and to remove all the rest of trust. Or
the noise.
Yes, exactly.
Ivan?
Yeah,
What's your
and
take?
I agree completely with the minister. I would say the biggest, and it's both an opportunity and a challenge. Actually, and Chloe said it perfectly. It's to protect children in the digital world, not from the digital world. It's very understandable. There's a lot of scary stuff on the internet. There's a lot of scary stuff on social media. There are a lot of situations where social media has negatively impacted children and teenagers and so on. Very understandable that as parents, the reaction is, let's shut them off and protect our kids from all this bad stuff out there. But unfortunately, that's not the right answer. So to your point, we need to create citizens who are digitally educated, who know how to use these technologies. And we did a survey recently that showed that I think 96% of older teenagers use AI. 3/4 use, help me out. 3/4 use, watch video, yeah. 3/4 learn through watching videos on YouTube. So, to try and suddenly kind of protect children from those sources of information and knowledge and personal development and learning would be a mistake. So I think the challenge is how to do that while also protecting kids. And I think there's a way to do that. We've been doing it for a long time. Chloe said it perfectly earlier on in her introduction. There is a way to protect children in the digital world without shutting them off from it.
And we'll learn more from it a bit later. But now to the minister. So Greece has already created the Kids Wallet, and you have also published a strategy on kids' safety online. What is your big vision going forward for protection, but also for this empowerment that you described?
Well, let's make a comparison. It's easier to understand the situation. If I had a child of 10 years old, my children are now 15 and 16. A 10 years old child, it would be very dangerous to leave him commute in a city like Athens without being there, or without helping him or her, or by telling him that he has to be afraid of some things. For sure, I know that the drivers are responsible, but it is not, let's say, that doesn't make me so calm just to leave it alone. It is the same thing, the digital world we live. I'm sure that platforms do a lot of things, just you said about how to protect minors. But as a government and as a parent, I cannot leave his safety only to the responsibility of platforms. I have to take action as a government. I have to take action as a parent. So the vision is that as a government, as a ministry, you have to be there and to work together with platforms and find a feasible and easy way to protect them and to step with them towards a new world, a new fantastic world, a very fancy world, but we have to be there because I saw a lot of approaches from many countries. Some of them, what they say, that platforms, you are responsible. I cannot do anything. I don't want to do anything. You have to carry all this load. No, we have to be there, and in our case, it takes three to tango. Platforms, government, and also parents.
Mm-hmm. Can I double down on something you just mentioned? You mentioned the example of a 10-year-old, but I see an issue here. How can we make sure that we approach in the strategy that the government and also companies are building for kids protection? How do we make sure that we treat kids as kids, so younger ages as younger ages, but as they grow older and they mature and they have different needs, also for communication, for information, for their connection to the world, and so as kids become teenagers, how can we adapt this strategy to make it more appropriate for their age, while it's easier to restrict a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old even than a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old?
First of all, I have to be clear, I don't believe in banning or stopping. Yes, we have to find the borders, and we have to be there as a Ministry of Digital Governance to give the tools. But from the other side, there are the teams with scientists that have to take care of the mental health of children. So we have to go together to find the easy but a secure way to do it. And I surely not believe that this way is just by banning, but from the other side, we have to give them back their childhood. They have to live as a child. So we need to work together with education and with people that are closer to our children. Unfortunately, in our era, I'm not so sure that the parents are always so close as their teachers, for example. So we have to be closer with them and work with them.
Mm-hmm. So, Ivan, in what ways is Google strategy? How is Google approaching in a holistic way how to protect children online, depending also on their different ages and different needs?
Yeah, I mean, at a very simple level, you need a couple of things to be able to protect children online. One, you need to know that they're children. And so a big part of what we do is through Google account, for example, to know who's a child. Now, if you open a Google account and you say you're a grown-up, in the past there was no way to verify that. We just had to take it for your word. But we're now rolling out what is called inference or age assurance, which is an AI-based technology that verifies that the user is a child or not using what we know about that particular user. And that's very accurate, that's very precise. We're also working with various other parts of the ecosystem, governments and the European Union, on a technology called Credential Manager, which can reliably pass, in a privacy-preserving way, information from government sources on whether the user is a child or not to the applications, again, fully preserving privacy. So all that helps you, with certainty, know if the user is a child or not. The second thing you then have to do is, once you know that the user is a child, to apply protective controls in the applications. For example, in YouTube, if you use YouTube Kids, the content there is age appropriate. Chloe mentioned safe search in search. In all of our products, in Gemini, we have certain protective controls. In all of our product surfaces, once we know that the user is a child, and by the way, that's associated with a Google account, so it's propagated across the ecosystem of products, we can then apply protective controls in the products. There's a ton of detail and nuance, but the basic philosophy is pretty simple. You have to know that the user is a child, and you have to apply protective controls around what the child can see and do online.
And this is exactly what we are trying to do with Kids Wallet, and now with this new, let's say, horizontal guidelines that the EU issued this summer. We just need to give this flag. This person that use this platform is over or under 15, is over or under 13, just a flag. But it is very crucial, because I know that also Google and YouTube did a lot of work on that, but sometimes parents are totally lost with all these new features, so there must be an easy way to activate them. And this flag, through a Kids Wallet, through Mini Wallet, could be. For sure, it's not the only technical approach.
And I think, it's your prerogative. We were talking about this earlier. Your prerogative, but in my opinion, we should require that of digital platforms. We should require that
I totally agree.
They have some reliable way to assure the age of the user. Whether they do it themselves or they do it through integration with your wallet, you will figure out the right answer. But the current situation where some platforms don't do that, I think, is unacceptable.
That's why I'm saying that I cannot, let's say, stand by only the responsibility of a platform. They have to be obliged to use filters and trying to find the real age. But from the other side, as a government, I'm also responsible as a European Union to find a legal, easy way to give this flag over or under.
Exactly.
What is the importance of having an alignment on this approach on European level than going like fragmented from market to market?
Just imagine the opposite. Every country to have a different technical approach, and every platform requires something totally different. We will get lost and nothing will happen. So that's why we issued Kids Wallet as a parental control tool, first of all, just to highlight, to stress the need to find a common technical way to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Ivan, I understand that age assurance and age verification, it's one piece of the puzzle when it comes to child protection. How does Google's wider commitment to age-appropriate design and safety by design principles complement these age verification efforts?
Yeah, it's kind of along the lines of what I was saying before, that once you know that the user is a child or not, is a minor or not, you have the flag available and it's reliable and you can rely on it. You can then apply all kinds of protective controls. You can give parents, through Family Link, for example, which we've worked together on as well, you can give parents more control over what their children can access and when. I think all those rely on reliable understanding of age.
How can AI help in this process?
We use AI heavily in our inference technology, which allows us to, with high precision, tell if the user is a child or not, even in the absence of a flag from government systems. Of course, it's better if you have a black and white, sort of very clear government-issued flag. That's even better. But we come pretty close to that with our inference tech, which is AI-powered.
Mm-hmm. And what about privacy? How much data do we actually need in this process? Because I think this is also essential, and the younger the user is or the child is, it becomes even more sensitive.
That's why I said about the flag, just a flag and nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. Because exactly I understand that, I tried to remember 40 years back when I was at that age, that I didn't want to be, let's say, seen what I'm doing. That's why we, through Mini Wallet and through Kids Wallet, the European guidelines saying very strictly that we don't use even the year of birth, just this flag. Mm-hmm. And when we presented the Kids Wallet with the Prime Minister, the first question of some children who were with us was, is Kids Wallet supervising or reading my messages, my calls? No, not at all. This is not the purpose.
Mm-hmm. So closing question to both. Empowerment versus restrictions. Maybe we don't have to choose from what I hear, but...
I mean, spiritually, empowerment over restrictions, but you kind of need both, especially with younger children. Maybe as you move more into teenagers, it's more about empowerment, less about restrictions. For younger children, I have a 7-year-old and a 1-year-old. You definitely need restrictions. You cannot let them access what's out there. So I think it's probably more restriction heavy early on and then empowerment heavy later. But certainly both.
Yeah, I really like that. As I came here today to listen to Evan, I totally agree with him. Yes, this is a scheme exactly.
Yeah. Well, do your sons already do this when they don't want to do something or this? Because this is how my son indicates that he doesn't like someone.
No. I'm talking about empowering and restrictions.
Thankfully, he hasn't yet figured out how to break out of Google's protective controls, but maybe one day. But yeah, my son's obsessed with Gemini Live. He talks to Gemini Live, but he has questions about dolphins and natural phenomena and space and all kinds of things. And to deprive him of that would be a disaster. So I'm very, very relieved to hear you're not supportive of bans.
And I'm also I want to say and thank you, because Google, from the first day that we started discussing, it was about a year back when the Prime Minister to EU gathering said about the need to protect minors. Google was there and we worked together with Credential Manager. Okay, EU finally chose another technical way to work with age verification, but you were there from the first moment. We worked a lot, and I'm sure that we will continue this collaboration, yes.
And our shared objective is to protect children, whether that happens through Credential Manager or through some other technical approach. It doesn't really matter to us. What matters is the protection of children, the outcome.
And at the end of the day, this is what we have to do it, to find a feasible and easy way to work with.
Exactly.
Are you open for some questions from our audience?
You know that the problem today is that I'm waiting for the Commissioner Virkkunen, who is almost in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
And with that, am I still on? Yes. Dimitris from.
I'm here.
There are other. Okay, let me just introduce. So we have together with us Dimitris from Livity organization. Livity has conducted one study. As Chloe mentioned earlier, it's called the Future Report, and it ran across 7,000 teenagers across Europe. And I think there are some very, very interesting insights in there.
Sure.
So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, good evening. First of all, as a parent of 2 twins, actually, I want to say a huge thank you to Google for all those initiatives, because it's insanely important for us to feel that we have an ally in this thing, because it's really chaotic, it's very difficult, and we need to find ways to empower them as well as to help them find their limits. So, as Evgenia said, my name is Dimitris Tsoutsos. I'm a brand strategist, and I represent Livity here today. Livity is a youth specialist agency that operates globally. And we're going to explore some highlights from the Future Report 2025, which is on your screens right now. The report captures perspectives of around 7,000 teenagers across 7 European countries, and highlights how they see technology, how they see the opportunities they can embrace, and the challenges that they feel that they have to face. At its very heart, the report shows how teens want technology to evolve in the future, to support their learning, creativity, well-being, and of course, their future. So what we did is that we recruited 7,000 teenagers from 7 European countries, and they all participated in qualitative and quantitative research. And also they completed some sets of interactive online tasks and shared with us content from their daily interaction with technology. The research themes that we explore are around AI, creativity and learning, trust and information quality, really important, especially in these days, discovering connection, how they see themselves and how they connect and discover new interests and new people online. And finally, about well-being and the support that they want and they actually get from society. And all the findings became the basis of a huge set of recommendations that we will discuss a little bit further and you can also find in the report next week. So why this report really matters? Because it actually shows to us that they are not just the users of technology. They are the people who are the architects of how we will build technology tomorrow. They are the center in every debate that we have about technology and how we shape the platforms. And we need to listen directly to their voices to uncover a much safer roadmap, more inclusive and more empowering digital experience. So we'll go through the 5 thematics now, starting from AI, creativity, and learning. So let's begin with AI. What we're seeing, it is already deeply embedded into their daily lives. 42% of Greek teenagers report using AI daily or almost daily, while 1 out of 3, 28%, report using AI on a weekly basis. What does this tell us? That this is not a futuristic concept. AI is not something that comes from the future. It is already here. It is a tool that they are already using constantly across school, social life, and creativity. How they see and how they use AI in education. Half of them say that it helps them explain difficult topics in new ways. 48% say it provides instant answers and feedback, making it quicker for them to learn. 42% say that it makes learning more fun and engaging. As Anna, at the age of 17, participant in the research, put it, because I have dyslexia, I have a bit of difficulty learning the language. So I use AI tools, usually to help me with essays. So these insights show how AI is already becoming a tutor, a coach, and an explainer for young people, and that they are using AI to personalize their learning. They are asking AI to adapt explanations to their needs and seeing it as a complement to traditional teaching. When it comes to creativity, most of them feel that it actually sparks their imagination and their creative skills. It is a power machine. 85% say that it has improved their creativity, and most say that it helps them generate new ideas, write more creatively, and produce better quality visual arts. Those numbers, again, are from the Greek research, and it is really worth mentioning that they are higher even than the EU average. So it's really here for them. They really use it for creative purposes. They don't see AI as something that will replace their imagination, but as a way to spark their imagination. And we need to understand that for them, creativity, it's not just a one-sided thing. It's a hybrid situation, blending their own skills and at the same time using digital tools that can help them go further and, of course, faster. However, despite this rapid adoption of AI by teens, schools seem to lag behind. 47% of teens say that their school has approved at least one AI tool, but 33% say their school has not approved any at all, which is even higher than the EU average, which is about 25%. So teens are not asking for bans, answering also the question that we just had, if it's about banning things or empowering people, but they ask for clear frameworks and training on how to use AI. As Dimitra, another participant in the research, put it, if we had to think of some rules for using AI in education and learning, that would be good. We could create a specific framework around AI usage. So they want education systems that keep pace with their reality. So now going to the second thematic about trust and information quality, really important in those days with all this misinformation and fake news crisis that we have around. This is a generation that actually questions everything that they see online. We all know that they are growing in an information-rich environment, and they know that they cannot take everything at face value. The majority say that they consider whether content is actually trustworthy, and almost half try to cross-check the information. It is just an 8% in Greece, and I think it's 9% the EU average, that say that they do not check at all about the information. As Eleni and Nikos, two other participants, said, I always check the source, the date, and look at and look at the style of the text. So the style of the text tells them if it's written by a machine or by a human. They try to understand from that. And Nico said, if I don't know if it's real or not, I look to see who is posting it and why. So they do a background check to the author. They see if it is a real person, if he has published something else in the past, so they know that this is something that they can rely on. Their words show us that teens are aware of all the bias and the misinformation, and they have already developed strategies to manage it, and they try always to cross-reference and check their sources. And when it comes to trust in artificial intelligence, teens see it as useful, but not as something which is infallible. So they also worry that they cannot over-rely on AI, because this could weaken their critical thinking. As an 18-year-old said, I like to use AI for help, but I do not blindly trust it. I check and verify what I get. So this highlights a very clear demand that they want transparency and they want verified sources, so that they can tell the difference and make much more informed decisions. So moving in the third thematic, we wondered and we asked them how they discover new interests, new information, new stimuli, and how they connect with other people using technology and specifically AI. Of course, we all know that internet is a very powerful space to discover. Teens say that they regularly find new topics online through a mix of algorithms, recommendations from friends, and active research. Discovery is not just passive, it is both guided by algorithms, like the 50% that they cite algorithm recommendations as often and always helpful, but at the same time is also shaped by their social interactions, combining technology and peer influence. Going more specifically on YouTube and video content, YouTube seems to play a very vital role in how they learn. So they use it both for schoolwork and for personal interests outside the classroom. One teen said, I use YouTube a lot myself at work, purely for my homework, or it's so interesting that it brings me so much joy. While another one said, you can learn things that school doesn't teach you, like how to code or edit video. So this shows to us that actually YouTube both supplements the classroom learning as a personalized, let's say, learning ecosystem, but also helps teens to cultivate curiosity and broaden their horizons outside of the school limits. We touched upon this issue right before on the panel about their well-being and how they get support, or if they get any kind of support. More than half say they feel their lives are balanced in terms of mental well-being between online and offline experiences, and girls are more likely than boys to prioritize their offline time with family and friends. As Konstantinos mentioned, it's better to go out and talk to people, but it's also good to connect through social media. So this reminds us that they don't see online and offline as two separate words, but it is a hybrid thing for them. They see them as interconnected with digital activities that can fuel real-world impact. And they also take steps to protect themselves while they are online. So almost half say that they are careful about what they share. Many use strong passwords, and some even block or mute other users. This shows us that they have high awareness about online safety, and digital protection is actually a part of their everyday habits. I want to just keep the last sentence of the quote that Konstantinos said, I believe we do not need to share everything. A very mature positioning for a 16-year-old person, saying that, okay, we can share, but there are also limits to that. When it comes to support, not every teenager feels that have someone to turn to. 1 in 5 say that they receive no support at all in managing their online habits. And there is a very clear divide that was revealed in the research. Teens from lower income households are more likely to lack support, while those from higher income households are more likely to say they manage their habits well with parental guidance. This shows us that even guidance is uneven, and that inequality in the offline life also shapes their digital experiences. However, what we also saw was that even when support exists, even when parents are there and try to help, they are not always so well equipped to give the guidance their kids need. So although parents are still the most trusted source of advice on healthy online habits, just a third of teens believe that they understand social media and online information very well. Actually, they said that their parents misunderstand the risks. They struggle to recognize AI or fake content, or they just focus on their own things. Perhaps someone believes that if he monitors the screen time on the mobile phone, that's okay, and it's not enough. So going to the last thematic, which is about the future and how teens see the role of technology and how it will shape the future. They're very optimistic about the potential technology has for good. They believe that it can improve education and healthcare and play a very important role in tackling challenges like sustainability and inclusion. Technology can help create a better future by supporting environmental sustainability through innovation. So they see a lot of potential there for the future. They also want technology that is designed with well-being and inclusion in mind. They are asking for more rules. They ask for age limits. They ask for content restrictions. And they ask for help and guidance from adults, either parents, school teachers, or even the tech companies. As a 16-year-old added, essentially tech companies have to think of everyone. That is the most important, so everyone can benefit from what they bring. Finally, when it comes to their involvement, they want to be taught, they want to be involved, and also they want to be listened. They want to be included into how we shape the future of our lives through technology. And most importantly, from the Greek research, Greek teens want technology and, of course, AI benefits to be even more open to all society. And many mentioned, which is really admirable, the need to educate the elderly and make it easier for them to use technology and help them communicate with their families. So that said, we sum up a little bit of some highlights and some key insights from the report. 3 headlines, let's say, for now, on how we can turn these insights into action. So first, make sure that we have equitable and age-appropriate online experiences so that all teens can actually safely benefit from their access to information, to education, and community, regardless of their social and economic background. Second, cultivate digital, AI, and media literacy so young people can acquire and develop the skills they need to thrive online and offline in this world that's coming. And third, support shared responsibility, something that was also mentioned before in the panel, for online safety, because no group can do this alone. It requires very good collaboration between tech companies, policymakers, educators, and parents. You can find more about the report and more content that will be published online next week, I think, right? On the futurereport.eu. And on that note, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dimitri. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Sara Eliouseri. She's from the Public Affairs team of Google, and she's leading all the digital literacy programs for us in Europe. And Sara is the person who led these efforts in pan-European level to coordinate the effort for the study we just presented. So can I ask you something? What was the biggest surprise from the findings? Was there something that made you think like, wow, I would never have expected that?
I had a few surprises, and thank you for having me here. It's really a pleasure to be here at this amazing, incredible gathering. I had a few surprises. One was, actually, I would quite like to hear from everybody here and hear back from you if you found anything particularly interesting or surprising, or that really you felt like you already knew I was very taken by how many young people really turn to their parents and trust their parents. But then there was also a fairly large number of young people who said that their parents worry about the wrong things. And I was really interested to know what are parents worrying about that young people think is not so much of a concern. So I can see so many young people here today, definitely younger than me. So I don't know if anybody here wants to share any perspectives or their own feedback or experiences or how they feel about that question. Another issue for me was really the, I guess, the sophistication, the savvy skills that young people have, especially when it comes to thinking critically about what they see online, knowing whether to trust something, knowing how to check the veracity of information online. So that was very reassuring. I'm a parent. I have 2 young children who are 13 and 15. So these are the kinds of skills and kind of competencies that I think are really important for them as they navigate the internet with a little bit more independence. But is anybody here interested in sharing any reflection or feedback or anything that they may want to share in response to those results?
I think there is a microphone also, like, ready to... it's here. Thanks.
Hi, first of all. So at my school and my parents are very into technology and they want us to get new experience and like get to know AI and all the stuff that's progressing throughout these years. And so we kind of have some discussions about the protection that we have to take while using these apps and these tools. And we make sure that everything that we read about on the internet, we read it with both perspectives, and we're trying to see if that's right or wrong, and think critically most of the times, and being able to recognize the fake news sometimes, or if there is any misinformation about the topic that we're reading about. And most of it, I think that's important because we kind of use the tools to help us solve problems and help us maybe think more creatively in some aspects of our lives. But we need also to be able to say if something's wrong or if what's been said is something that's really useful and we need that information, or maybe we doesn't. So I think being able to recognize which information is actually useful and which isn't, and how we can protect ourselves from these tools, our privacy, when we upload pictures or videos on the internet, what's the outcome of that. So I think it's really useful for anyone, and adults and young kids now, because we're into the digital and all of the technology and we're growing up with it. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's a really powerful contribution. May I ask how old you are?
I'm 16.
16.
Yeah.
That's very impressive, very impressive. Yeah, so I think that point about AI and navigating AI was very powerfully made in the report as well. And there's someone just here in the middle.
2 more people in the back.
Hi, I would like to express my opinion about AI. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit shy. So I would like to say that most teenagers shouldn't have this unlimited access. They should have it limited, because you don't know the danger about on the internet. Kids don't know, adults do know, because they might have lived without phones as most parents say, like, when I was your age, I didn't even have social media. I didn't even have a phone. So, of course, after a phone was invented, they, of course, bought it. And they know more, like anything dangerous that happens or whatever. So they try to protect their child so they won't become a victim of these things, like abuse, doxing, and anything else, cyberbullying. That's very, very common. So I think in AI, a lot of AIs are not trustful since they aren't like controlled by humans. As I know, I don't really know. So I think that it should be controlled by humans, and a kid should have a limited access on a phone. Now, I know most people will disagree with me, but it's just my opinion. I'm just sharing it with all of you.
Thank you.
With no shame. That's what I wanted to say. That kids should have limited access, not too much, not too little. Like 3 hours a day, every day, will be fine. But not too much. Like even in Family Link, I feel like this is an invasion of privacy or maybe stalking, because you just see whatever your child does, like what they share, what they search, what they message, what they read, what they see, anything. And I feel like that's too much. Like a parent will be overdoing it, like being overprotective that they should be. This is all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you. So less time, more privacy. Anyone else? Yeah.
No, so you've been talking about AI. I guess it is the topic that you've been talking about, but you have not talked about enough negatives of AI. You've been talking about so many positives, but I have not seen that enough emphasis be given on its negatives. You have not talked about the fact that an AI search emits 5 times more carbon dioxide than a Google search. You have not talked about the fact that creativity, originality, and our sense of reality on the internet has been almost lowered with AI in these last few months, or I guess 2 years that it has existed. It's all I really have to say. I just wish that you maybe talked about the negatives a bit more, rather than presenting AI like it's the key to a new digital golden age.
Yeah, I think I really would pull out the insights from young people we talked to who were very aware of risks and very aware of and thoughtful about some of the challenges that are really outlined in the final report. They include a kind of concern about over-reliance, a worry about critical thinking, a very conscientious and deliberate approach where they expressed and observed misuse and the dangers of misusing it, for example, in a school or a learning context. But there were also, there's a section of the research where we wanted to understand if we removed the parameters, if we take away, from a survey framework is almost quite constrained in the questions that it asks, but if we leave it open and we invite responses just in an open field and ask, about aspirations for the future and that the vision for the future that young people envisage and aspire to when it comes to technology. There are a number of areas that they really aspire to see impact, and I personally found it quite interesting that the environment wasn't as high up as I thought it would be, and it may be because of this kind of question and understanding about energy use, which is actually extremely efficient when it comes to energy use and it comes to AI. It's unlike any other type of efficiency. But there is absolutely that sort of exploration of the challenges and concerns and about the kind of need for more support. So I hope that you kind of will see that when you get to look at the report, because the idea is to try to address some of those challenges as well. And Chloe, is there anything you wanted to say about on Family Link and those controls? Because my understanding of Family Link is that it's not in so much a monitoring tool that would allow access to things like searches and internet activity, but just simply to kind of be able to control those settings.
So the way Family Link has been designed is not to be, lots of people call them parental controls, but I don't like that phraseology because as someone reflected earlier, it's not about control, it's about oversight, and we call it parental tools. And I think, obviously, Evan reflected this before. When we're talking about YouTube Kids, for example, like pre-teens, then of course, that experience is much more curated. The content that they see has been proved. Whereas when we're talking about Family Link more broadly, it's much less granular than I think you imagine. It provides parents a great oversight and some controls, so they can set screen time limits, for example. They can block downloads of certain apps, but they can't see what you're searching for. They might be able to see who your followers are, but who you're following on YouTube in the supervised experience for preteens, for example. But it's certainly not about giving them too much power to sort of spy into your life, because the one thing whenever I'm asked what is an effective way of parents helping their kids navigate the online world is by having conversations, sparking conversations, being honest with each other, knowing that your teen can come to you if they have a problem, whatever it is, if something upsets them online or someone insults them or hurts them, being able to talk to their parents and the parents being open enough to that. That is the most important thing. So we wouldn't want to put in place controls that kind of block those conversations and make kids want to hide. It's much more about sparking open dialogue. I hope that makes sense.
So, anyone else?
We have one more.
Okay.
Hello. I have a question that has to do with why do we need to do the regulation on a government level and not on a platform level? So currently, for example, we are suggesting, the Greek government is suggesting a wallet that will protect kids. What happens if we have, for example, we have dating apps that come from Google Play, and Google can pretty much regulate that. Let's say there is a tourist, a kid that registers on a dating app. How do we know if they're coming from a country that does not have a wallet? So why are we doing that on a government level? Some people on the alt-right will say, oh, they're doing it because they want our data. They're not really doing it for the kids. So why are we doing it on a government level? I'm going to give an example. Japan has this regulation that the platforms need to ensure that kids do not enter certain platforms. For example, if you go on Tinder and you are whoever you are and you're a tourist, you don't need to have a wallet in order to be denied access. You need to upload your ID. So yeah, that's my question.
Thank you. Do you want to take that?
So I think trying to break down what you were asking, to make sure I understand. So in terms of dating apps, for example, so I mentioned before, Yeah, so if you're under 18 and you're on the Play Store, Google Play Store, then 18 apps that are rated 18 plus, such as dating apps, would be blocked for under 18 users, so that we have that in place already. And individual services, individual apps like Tinder, for example. So we have that because at the Play Store, when you download the app in the first place.
Basically, the person has to say, I'm not 18.
Yeah, so, yeah, I understand, yeah. So before, when we were presenting, we talked about the age estimation model that we have. So this is a highly effective model that Google deploys when you open an account with Google, and it infers the age, whether you're 18 and above or under 18. And so through that, we're able to block access to apps that are rated adult.
Because I see that problem all the time from people that I know. They're telling me it's full of kids. The dating apps are full of kids. So isn't the platform that is allowing that and enabling that also responsible? And I'm also talking about Google here.
Well, I think it's a layered approach. So like I said, we have the App Store, our App Store, which is the Play Store, and our role is to stop kids being able to download apps at that point. And we have as I said, our model in place to prevent that happening. And with Family Link as well, parents can also make sure that they can have to approve certain app downloads. When it comes to individual apps, whether it's dating apps or others, of course, they have their own approaches to how they do this. Many of them do put in place, I can't speak specifically to Tinder or anything, but many of them do put in place checks on age, where you have to do like maybe a facial age estimation selfie, for example. But the responsibility is on those platforms. Obviously, we play our part with our Play Store and how we try and prevent kids getting the app in the first place. But if someone does manage to get on the app, on an app that's not for kids, then of course it's on that individual provider to make sure they help identify and remove them. But obviously, yeah, it would be very problematic to have kids on dating apps. I think we can all agree on that. It speaks to the wider issue of age assurance and trying to, as we said before, understand who is a teen and who we provide protections to as kids and who are adults. This is a very live discussion, I would say. You're getting right to the most tricky part of the policy that we work on, I would say. And it's something that countries around the world are discussing. How do we put in place age checks that don't ask users to give too much information, but are also effective? And that's why we're very confident with our model, because it doesn't ask users to give any additional information. We infer the age from data signals that we already have. An example would be if you are, you've had a Hotmail, Gmail account for 15 years. It's pretty clear from that signal that you're likely to be an adult. If you're searching for mortgages or tax advice, we pull all that information together, and it helps give us a very high degree of accuracy as to whether that person's a minor or an adult. But like I said, we have baseline protections in place anyway for all users.
Thank you, Chloe. And with that, I would like to invite on stage the next panel for a discussion on new media, video as a learning platform, YouTube, and individual learning paths. So with me is Cecilia Zapala from our Brussels team leading policy for YouTube. You can sit here. And Babis Tsekeris, co-chair, acting chair of the National Techno Ethics and Bioethics Committee. Thank you for being here. And thank you for coming. Cecilia just arrived from Brussels. So I have an icebreaker, let's say, question for both of you. And we've had the opportunity to listen to what teenagers think about through the study, but also live here, their own voices. So do you believe that we as adults and as companies, let's say, are currently meeting the expectations and demands of the youth for a safer but also more inclusive digital future?
Shall I start?
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe I can start. So just as an introduction, my name is Cecilia Zappola. I indeed came all the way from Brussels. I'm head of government affairs and public policy EU for YouTube. And my job is really to discuss with the policymakers in Brussels, but also in the European countries, what are the best solutions to ensure, amongst other goals, safety of kids online. So I tend to be quite optimistic, in fact, when I'm asked, are we actually delivering on that? Which doesn't mean being totally naive. I know there are many things that we need to fix. We need to be fast because technology is moving very, very fast. But it's true that when I see also as a mother, my 4 and 6 years old, which is really the generation which is going to come after the current one using platforms, digital services, social media, they are extremely quick in embracing the new technologies, and they feel that they need to be seamless and safe. They actually assume that. And so seeing how we think about these challenges internally from the YouTube perspective and seeing how much we try to build safety tools and well-being tools into all our products, I think we are getting there. There is a lot of things to do. There are a lot of things to do, but it reassures me that there is a lot of thinking and awareness going into this work. So mildly optimistic that, yes, we are working to ensure that kids are able to explore, but while being safe online.
Thanks for this question. Well, I fully agree that we need to be optimistic, and we can be optimistic indeed, because we have too much knowledge, and we have plenty of information. We have technical knowledge, we have social scientific knowledge, and we can combine all this with political will and will from technological companies which already exist. So I think that the key point here is, as you said, that we need to listen to children. We have to adapt a different worldview from the conventional worldview of the policymakers, in the sense that children are not just naive consumers. They are not passive consumers of digital content. They are active co-participants, creators of content, and we have to respect their need to be creative. We have to respect their need to be innovative, as all human beings, from babies to senior citizens, have this thirst, this drive for knowledge, for innovation, for learning, and we have to respect this drive, even for smaller kids.
Yeah, they are humans too, right? So building on what you already said, and based on the recent recommendation that the commission, your commission, issued recently, which is against blanket bans,
yes,
at least as the primary or first step in protection of minors.
Indeed.
Right?
We don't like the one-size-fits-all approach. Well, I have to say that our commission is our National Ethics Commission, and as you know, ethics is a science. It articulates scientific arguments, and ethics has to do with open discussions and open, uninterrupted deliberation. And We are now next to the Aristotle's Lyceum. And as you know, this tradition emphasizes on exchange of knowledge, exchange of information, and we do not pre-decide the outcome of this ethical deliberation. So open, uninterrupted deliberation is needed, first. Second, ethics has to do with trade-offs. I mean, it doesn't have to do with solutions. There are not solutions, let alone final solutions, but there are trade-offs in ethics. For example, we have commercial freedom, but we also have the right of the children for safe content, for accurate information. We have the right of the state to protect their own citizens, but we also have free expression rights, which are universal. So what we conclude, as you said, is that, of course, we adapt a modular structured approach and a holistic approach that we have to find the proper proactive mix of approaches. What we did with vaccinations, a modular structured approach according to different stages. So we believe that in order to find this mixture of approaches and the best interventions, we have to set up a broad deliberation and to put children's rights and interests at the top. Although we talk about trade-offs, we cannot compromise children's rights and interests. So we believe that, first of all, we need to empower children. We believe in bottom-up approaches. Bottom-up approaches are always stronger than top-down approaches. And we need to borrow or learn from best practices, best cases, best examples. We need to draw on recent scientific conclusions, and we need more knowledge, more scientific knowledge on the impact of the platforms and the social media on children's behavior and safety and well-being. And huge programs of sensitization with big companies like Google, and this is most effective and much more effective than just single solutions of banning everything. But again, as I said, we are in a phase of discussing all these opportunities. EU is discussing the Article 28 and is working on best solutions and the more effective and privacy-preserving age verification. Age verification is the trend, but we need to reflect on that. And not only this one, we need to focus on a mixture of policies, as I said, emphasizing on top-down approaches, on deliberative approaches, and privacy protection, safety by design. This is very important to protect children, not as naive citizens, but as powers, that as subjects that need empowerment and need protection and support.
Cecilia, how is YouTube thinking about that? And, you know, recently we are often hearing voices that are comparing social media or even YouTube, you know, to alcohol, to bad habits, to addictions, et cetera, et cetera. So, and following what Babis just said, which I think it is a very nice, point. How is YouTube achieving age-appropriate experiences?
Yeah, and it's an interesting point, right? Because in the last couple of weeks, in particular, we have heard quite a lot of calls for ban on social media, like really cutting off access to social media for all kids under 15, under 16. And this is something that, from the perspective of YouTube, obviously we don't really support. And the reason being what my fellow panelists pointed out earlier, it's about fundamental rights and also about the right solution to address the issues that we have. When we say we want to ban access to social media, it's a little bit like saying we want to ban cars so we can avoid car accidents, instead of thinking that maybe we need to work on creating belts, car belts and car seats. So we really think that there are very, very big downsides with banning access to social media, to video sharing platforms like YouTube for Kids. They will be totally deprived from using YouTube, for instance, as a learning tool. You have seen the results of the report that was presented before. Kids go on YouTube also to learn, also to fulfill their curiosity, to see things they're interested in. And so cutting all this off would really deprive them from something that could be fundamental for their experience. And let's also not forget that kids also, some of them at least, may want to participate, to engage with others, and also to be creative, to create online. And this is not too far or far-fetched. There are actual people like Dua Lipa or Justin Bieber who started their career as YouTube creators when they were around 16 years old. So cutting off access to social media and to video sharing platform under a certain age would also cut off their ability to be creative. So for all this reason, we like to think more about not having those blunt bans, but rather create age-appropriate experiences that can adapt to the age of the child and to their level of maturity. So some of you might know YouTube Kids. So YouTube Kids is an app that is absolutely uniquely created for kids. The content on YouTube Kids is very carefully selected to be appropriate for them. Then we have a type of supervised experience, which is for older kids, so they can use YouTube as such, but with some constraints and some tools for parents to manage in some way the experience. And quite recently, we create a further supervised experience, a little bit on the line of what my colleague Chloe was mentioning before. This supervised experience is for older teens who deliberately decide to link their YouTube account with the account of their parents or their guardians for them to have some insights of their YouTube activities. And so they can, this type of supervised experience could foster discussions between kids, teens, and parents. So it's not about controlling, but it's about having insights and have discussions. So we really try to do things in a way that could be appropriate for the age rather than say, okay, this is like tobacco, so let's ban it.
Bavis, how do you think that also, we can empower kids to shift from just consuming, because Cecilia mentioned something about creativity. And video is a form of creativity, and technology offers so many new means to be creative. So how can we foster and how can we shift, from consumption of video to really like authentic creative collaboration and the ability to ethically create, remix, innovate? I think these are all somehow there in teenagers, but how can we foster this tendency and bring it out there?
To foster, to trigger and foster this potential, of course, it exists. I do believe, and according to research, children are aware of privacy issues, are aware of rights issues. They do have this practical feeling of what is going on in the virtual world. Once again, because we are next to Aristotle's Lyceum, I think that we need again to draw from Aristotle's discussion on ethics. He said that the emphasis should not be on what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is false. Our emphasis should be on education, on proper training, on proper interaction. Now we have interaction between humans and between humans and non-humans. Interaction, good interaction is the key. And to cultivate some virtues, to update virtues like phronesis, practical wisdom. We need digital phronesis, we need digital sophrosyne, the right doing, and to cultivate some virtues that are underrated, underdeveloped, underestimated in the public educational system, like imagination. This is not my opinion. This is research findings from the World Value Survey in Greece and in the education system. Imagination, curiosity are underestimated, under-practiced. We have to boost this, not to be so much assessment-oriented, no need for correct answers all the time, no need to know everything all the time. We need more original answers, more self-activation, and more self-initiative. I mean, and this is what digital intelligence is about, a mixture of skills, even more project-based assignments, more projects like be an entrepreneur, be a politician and act like a politician, have a debate for political issues, and make a business plan, more connection with real life. And I think that if we build strong personalities, they will be strong both in the offline and online worlds.
Thanks, Bobby. And I think this is the best introduction for our next panel, because I think that it's with the Minister of Education. And I think there are a lot of things changing nowadays in in Greek schools and in the Greek educational system, and we are really anticipating to hear more from the Minister. One closing question for Cecilia, and then we will invite our last panel on stage. So we see researches and studies, for example, from the Oxford Economics, that reveal that parents heavily rely on YouTube as a key resource to help children learn, develop creativity, and understand the world. So how is YouTube living up to this expectation from parents around the world and in Europe specifically?
Yeah, so when I hear so much concern from policymakers and parents as well about the content the children experience and see on various platforms, I'm really proud of what we do at YouTube, because our mission for everyone actually, but especially for users who are minor, under 18 years old, it's to give them content which is high quality for them and appropriate for them. So how do we do that? How do we know that content is high quality? Actually, we developed some principle for high quality content, not alone. We work together with a committee, an advisory committee on youth and families, formed by various experts from different backgrounds. And together with them, we established a set of principles. We call them the high quality content principles on YouTube, on which the algorithm is trained to surface content for kids, which is deemed to be high quality. And content which stimulates curiosity and learning is definitely one of them. Others are content which is imaginative, content which portrays good behavior, and so on and so forth. And so really the algorithm is trained on this principle to offer this content. And in a similar way, we also developed low quality content principles. So again, content which would reflect those low quality principles is not shown prominently. It's not shown on YouTube Kids, and it wouldn't be recommended on any kids under 18 years old. And so I'm thinking about content which is overly commercial, which shows brands or logos or goods and packaging and things like that, or content that is misleading or that portrays negative behavior. So again, the algorithm follows this principle to reduce the visibility of content on those to kids which are under 18. And so it's really something that, when people think algorithm, the algorithm can really be useful in this perspective to make sure the experience of kids on YouTube and on platforms, it's high quality and age appropriate.
Thank you both. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to invite on stage Sarah El-Nuseri to moderate the next panel alongside Chloe Setter and Minister of Education, Ms. Sofia Zaharaki. Thank you all for being here today.
Welcome to the final discussion of our gathering today. My name's Sarah El-Nuseri, as I said earlier. Very warm welcome to our panelists today. This session is aimed at moving from the insights that we heard about from Livity and from 7,000 teenagers, including some here today, and moving from those insights into action. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome our esteemed, distinguished speakers to this panel. Her Excellency, Honourable Minister for Education, Sofia Zaharaki, Chloe Setter, Google's Government Affairs and Public Policy Child Safety Lead, and N.G.O Estatiu, our journalist and author, and I think youngest person on our panel today, so maybe you could potentially be the voice of of youth today.
The looks are deceiving.
Thank you all for joining this discussion. So I want to start with something that I found very overwhelming about the research that we launched today here. And it was the astonishing number of older teenagers who have used AI tools in the past year, and also very taken by the number of teenagers who are using video content for learning, and really taken by this idea that they're almost creating like these personalized digital learning ecosystems with these tools. So I wanted to ask you, Minister, given the enthusiasm with which AI and digital tools are being embraced outside of the classroom, what concrete steps is your ministry taking to support this? And what role do you see for schools and teachers in supporting this shift, maybe as opposed to potentially restricting it?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. Sorry for the delay. It's been a hectic day outside. I don't know if you've been driving, but I mean, the traffic has been awful. But thank you again for reversing the order and making us being able to be heard today. It's a very interesting discussion, and it's been going on for long. I was lucky enough to be part of that in the past few months. I've been a minister since I was deputy minister and minister for other ministries in the past. But since 2019 and 20, when I was vice minister for the same ministry, we were discussing about the use of digital means in the classroom. You remember that it was the COVID times, and we had to immediately, and I would say aggressively, turn from in-person and the education we've all known very well to turn to this remote learning that had many schools and teachers under this very newfangled, let's say, challenge of how to meet this new situation and make learning available again. So in the 4 years I was away, we changed the discussion, or we moved the discussion also from using technology and those new boards and all this new equipment that schools were provided with, to being able to equip the children with the right knowledge and probably the protection, I would say, at the same time, but also the very pragmatic, let's say, depiction of reality that it's already here. So AI is already here, and the young people are already using it. So I think the research and the study already showed that children are already using AI also to learn new things and creatively, let's say, immerse into this new ecosystem and the learning ecosystem. So what we've been doing, not just me, it was my predecessors that started that, and I continue now, equipping the schools, especially public school systems, with more than 38,000 new boards where the teacher can, of course, use new interactive material in order to make learning even more, I would say, interesting and even more challenging for children. And at the same time, I very much thank also companies that were very quick to start educating and building capacity for teachers to learn about the new digital means. AI, Google has been doing that. More than 10,000 teachers have already been trained in order to learn the basics about AI And those teachers have transmitted and conveyed this information to more than 300,000 children. And they were both primary and secondary education. So it's not just about providing the technical means or just the technology, accessing the technology, because you know that Greece has a very unique terrain. We have the islands, very remote islands, we have the most mountainous schools. Even connectivity is an issue, not just the equipment that was provided. So providing the equipment, providing the connectivity, especially for schools that are further away, and of course building capacity for teachers to know what this new world means. We changed also this year. We've seen the introduction of new computer books for 12 to 15-year-olds, that AI is already included as, of course, knowledge, but also as practical exercises, and of course, more curriculum building and awareness by computer teachers. And at the same time, we're continuing with teacher capacity building by introducing more training to teachers. So this year, more than 30,000 teachers will also be included in AI seminars. While at the same time, we are starting also to build new curriculum in order to be able to include all this new data. So I would say equipment, teacher building capacity, and of course, a new content for curriculum in order to meet this new reality.
Thank you, that's very comprehensive. And I would turn to you, Chloe, now. I mean, on behalf of Google, at the forefront of creating these AI products, I think somebody in the audience today also was expressing concern about, you know, the safety and kind of restrictions and ways in which young people are using AI. And so what's the priority for Google now with these tools to ensure that these are very powerful technological tools, but so that they can sort of be both helpful and support in education and learning, but be safe at the same time? What's your approach and how do you kind of tackle this?
Absolutely. Well, you know, we really do hear those concerns. We do listen to them. We're very cognizant of them. Our priority is about developing, as we said before, age-appropriate, privacy protective, but also high-quality AI experiences for young people. We take a very deliberate and very, I'd say, careful approach to this. We work with in-house experts, specialists in their fields, but we also work a huge amount in partnership with third parties, so like developmental psychologists, well-being specialists, child rights specialists, so that we're making sure we're taking a very holistic view. And our primary goal is really to help, I think, focus on preparation, like preparing young people for the AI tools of the future that are coming, but also very much focusing on how they can benefit from the current AI tools of today. But all of that means nothing unless we're thinking about their developmental needs and their safety. So for us, these are not just words, we put this in practice, and this involves robust product testing from our side for like AI products, doing lots of adversarial testing before we even launch a product, and continuing to do so even when the product is launched and receiving user feedback that we can incorporate into our models. We also have built from the start under 18 specific safeguards on our AI model Gemini, for example. And this is to help filter out like age-inappropriate content, so like the generation of sexually explicit material. But it also includes things that I know are very top of mind for people at the moment, like persona protections. And by persona protections, I mean, you know, we prevent the model from simulating like a human relationship or human interaction, making it very clear for under 18s that this is not a human you're talking to. It doesn't simulate or come up or say statements that kind of give the impression of sentience, if you know what I mean. We also have prevention for like bullying, so it can't, the machine, we don't want the machine bullying anyone, yet alone young people, so prevention of that, and other types of kind of protections in that space. So I think we've mentioned before the critical role for us is this literacy. The Minister mentioned this, and I must also pay great tribute to the Minister and her government for their investment in digital literacy, especially around AI, really recognizing early on how important this is, both in terms of equipment, but also in terms of just skilling up not only the next generations, but the teachers who are teaching those generations, because we've seen that through the research that, you know, young people often think that the adults don't really understand what the tools they're using. And so it's really important that the teachers feel empowered and they don't feel disempowered that the kids are using something that they don't understand. So that's one of the ways we're thinking about it.
Thank you. Thanks. So I'll turn to you, Nico. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the about some of those insights. I was very surprised, and maybe I should be ashamed to be surprised about this, but just how sophisticated the teenagers are today when it comes to critically evaluating information online, knowing what to trust, being concerned about AI and reliable information, misinformation. So as I think it's okay to say you're a young, youthful technology journalist, what's your kind of view of probably the single biggest misconception that older people, whether it's like policymakers, many of who are younger than me anyway, let's say, parents, teachers, what misconceptions they may have about young people?
To clarify the first misconception, because we have teenagers and they can clearly tell, I am a tired millennial. I'm not even a Gen Z, or let alone a Gen Alpha. Here's the way I see things. I think when we have technological breakthroughs that happen to coincide with people being young, they always adopt them with a more rapid speed, and they become much more well-versed in it. I think my generation, say the millennials, we were growing when the internet was sort of seeping into everything, right? So then you had a lot of people in my generation becoming super well-versed in the internet, and then in the cusp of the millennial to Gen Z, you had social media becoming really widespread, and really teens were the first ones that knew how to use them. And I think you're seeing the same thing happen now with AI. And if I were to have a contrarian viewpoint, I would say, obviously there's a lot of potential and a lot of risks, but it was social media for me that was the most dangerous one of the three, if you want to really talk about it. But let's go to AI and what teens are doing with it. I've seen some phenomenal things come out over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to teens understanding the limitations, but also using the potential of these tools. There's a phenomenal platform developed by a Greek Gen Zer who came back from the US called Open Council that uses AI to document city council meetings and do executive summaries of them and sort of popularize that content. There was another teenager whose work we saw at the Reuters Institute where he developed a tool using some open source large language models. You would put in an article and it would generate a beautiful artwork based on a lot of influences that this kid himself had programmed into it. A lot of things like Miyazaki art that we all really love, but also newer influences, video game influences that I wasn't really familiar with. But the result was really, really catchy and beautiful. And then the last thing that was really interesting, this is a study that's not yet published, but I can tease the results. It comes from the Reuters Institute in Oxford and the Oxford Internet Institute. When teenagers were asked to evaluate if a content was written by GTP or not, or any sort of generative AI platform, they were much more successful in doing so than adults, actually, which kind of challenges some of our thinking around, well, it's clearly teenagers using GPT and the professors catching them. We're very often the teenagers know what is created by Gen AI software or not. So I think, long story short, teens are really well versed in this technology, right? And I've always said, if we want to draft policy, if we want to create technology, for us journalists, if we want to capture the story of tech and what's happening, we need to bring these teenagers together and sort of work with them. We have so much to learn from them. We cannot just be policy making about something we don't quite understand when teenagers are out there and they really understand it. We need to bring these voices, which is why I was so thankful that we heard from you guys before, and you proved my point, because I think, some of your insights were like hitting the nail in the head. You really understand the technology, you know the risks. Obviously, we need to work together with you to get the potential out there, but also mitigate some of those risks.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's go just move on now to support. And what more we can do to support young people, teenagers, to kind of navigate the internet and new technology safely. I'm always struck by how overwhelmingly negative the conversation is in public policy and broader public debates about young people and technology. But actually the research showed that there was a very proactive effort on the part of young people to balance their online and their offline lives and there's a very sort of conscientious and deliberate effort to try and support well-being. And so I wanted to ask you, Zoe, what you see the role of technology companies and others in supporting and helping young people to balance and maintain that sense of well-being and balance.
Well, I think, firstly, I do really think it's great that young people are embracing these tools and really leading the way, showing how it's done, seeking out the benefits and learning in the process. I mentioned before my own sort of distant teenage years of dial-up internet and taking what used to feel like hours to sometimes just do a simple thing like crop a photo. It used to be so hard. So I'm very happy for the young generation that there are these efficiency tools and creative tools available to them. But like we've said this several times today, everything in life is about balance. And we can't expect young people to strike that balance always on their own. I think that's where we play a role, whether it's teachers, whether it's platforms, parents, is about that empowerment role. And we've talked a lot today about empowerment, and I think it's a really important theme of everything we're seeing through the research. And I think it always comes back to me for the three pillars that we have at Google of protect, respect, empower. So it goes without saying that platforms we have to protect. It's our responsibility. If we want younger users using our products, we have to protect them. We have to put safety guardrails in place, and we have to enforce our policies. But we also have that respect piece about every family is different. I saw a few laughs earlier when one of the young people said about less screen time, and she said 3 hours a day. And some people, the older people, I noticed laughing because for some people 3 hours a day is quite a lot, but for a young person 3 hours may not be that much. So but that flexibility of the tools, the parental tools that we have like Family Link, so that parents can have those discussions with their kids and set them for their own family. And then finally, the empower piece, and we've talked about the digital literacy. We have the Experience AI program, and the Minister mentioned some of the stats on this, but that we have the Be Internet Awesome program, which has been running for 7 years, and that's focused on younger children as well. And that's reached nearly 700,000 students in Greece and more than 26,000 teachers. So we're trying to really invest and make sure that everyone has the access to these tools and the benefits from them.
Thank you. And so going back to you, N.G.O, do you have a sense of what healthy balance looks like for this generation?
I mean, do we have that knowledge? I feel like I walk around sometimes in Athens or I take public transport. I see all of the boomers on their phones as well. I don't think any generation really knows what that balance really looks like. I think what I see as a journalist too is that there's a craving for offline time, and we see this across generations. So obviously we are adopting these tools, but we are also naturally as humans realizing we need to spend time off screen or offline as well. And we heard that from some of you younger people here as well today. One thing I'll say that's important when we think about balance, immediacy of result and speed sometimes is really useful, particularly if we think about our work. Right, we really need a quick answer or a quick fix, but particularly when it comes to education, sometimes the quicker route isn't always the best in terms of your own personal growth, right? So this is something that I'm trying to wrap my head around. We saw this in the results of the survey before, where we were seeing that a lot of teens appreciate how quickly they can get an answer from artificial intelligence. Where sometimes it's not really about getting the answer, it's about the journey or the process you need until you get to that answer. So I think when we talk about education specifically, an important balance is for educators to realize when is it that we really need our teens to go through the full journey and investigation, which sadly needs to happen in the more traditional way with just getting some sources out there and using your brain and thinking and having a big piece of paper and drawing your ideas out there. And this is really important for our own self-worth, so we don't actually become so used to automated answers, right? So used to just having a query, typing something up, getting the result, forgetting about it the next day. So I think this is an important part of the balance that I think I would want to see educators and teenagers working together to find systems and models of how we can have online education, AI-driven education, but also offline education that challenges the analog mind, if you will.
Thank you. So I want to now just point to the digital divide that appears in the report, particularly around parental support. there was a pretty significant gap between lower and higher income households when it came to parental support. So I'm interested in hearing your take on the type of community or policy initiatives that can help to bridge that gap.
Before I go there, I was just thinking about different things that you asked in the first and the second question. Probably trying to highlight a little bit something that I saw it was really impressive to my mind when I saw this digital tutoring that we have. I don't know, you speak Greek? Ψηφιακό φροντιστήριο, you guys from school, probably you've used that. And we used AI for people with hearing aid. So it was an amazing tool also to battle these disparities and the differences that we had among, the students that they had hearing aid issues and of course people with disabilities. So you see how AI was able to help us battle this imbalance and of course this accessibility issue that we had. And the students that create this content online that you said about helping their classmates with disabilities in order to be able to meet those difficult times that they had dealing with very difficult material in some courses was to me really a breath of fresh air when we were really battling with the question about safety and of course with the ethical use of AI and coming of course to this digital divide as you very accurately mentioned. We say that and of course we see that among ages and between the ages and of course between the city center and the regional areas because it's not just the divide you have among ages, it's also the divide that you have among areas that it's much easier to get access to information and about the regional and most remote areas in Greece. So when you talk about digital divide and about community building and this capacity that you need to build, you also have to think about the most remote areas where information, seminars, or just access, it's much more difficult. So with digital divide, what we've been trying to do, and it was the Ministry of Digital Infrastructure and Governance that actually pioneered this initiative, and I would like to commend them on that, is to, of course, work with the municipality, with the mayors and the regional governors in order to run seminars for parents. So it was the community building capacity to help them, first of all, build digital skills. And that was an amazing initiative that ran 2023 and 2024. It's still continuing. So regional government can play a very important role, especially when it goes hand in hand, of course, with central government. And we also, as the Ministry of Education, we're now running some seminars for PTA, for parents and teachers associations, especially focusing on parents, to help them, of course, build this digital divide. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight, and we have to be very consistent and very coherent when we build a strategy in order to battle this digital divide. But I think that it can work under a strategy that focuses very much on local needs and be able to also fund it with government funds.
Thank you. So I think we'll stay on this topic of government initiatives because I want to talk about regulation and moving on to the regulatory environment. Both at a national member state but EU level, it's extremely dynamic with lots of influx and in motion. So I'd like to ask each of you, if we try to do a quick fire round, I think we should, looking at the time, what one key principle or approach that you'd like to see prioritized in the ongoing regulatory efforts. And I'll start with you, Nick.
Okay, great. I mean, I'm going to start with something that's quite niche, but as a journalist, I need to sort of bring it back to journalism too as well. We see that something like 7% of audiences worldwide use chatbots on a weekly basis to get their news. On under 25s, this is at 18%, according to the Reuters Institute's research. Something I'd like to see about regulation is when the news is being sourced for chatbots to provide answers about what's happening in the news, that this sourcing should be really transparent and also, enable and empower the newsrooms and the journalists themselves that are doing all the work to get some of the credit for the verification and the fact-checking and the sort of linking it back to information. But on a second quick point, regulation is key, but we also really need innovation since you brought the European conversation into the mix, right? I think Europe cannot just keep chasing the tails of companies that are based outside of the EU. Some companies happen to be great and care about a lot of, the big questions we're talking about today, Google being one of them. We can't expect that to be always the case. We need to definitely regulate, but also leave the room open for Europeans to innovate and create big AI tools here in Europe that reflect some of the value systems we have in this continent.
Okay, great. So transparent, innovation.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Minister, please.
I'd say regulate with responsibility. I very much like innovation, of course. Innovation is very intrinsic in that part, and foresight, but not fear. So I think that also what was very easily, let's say, pointed out and highlighted also in the survey is that, okay, children and young people even know more than we think, or maybe can be more empowered when they know the regulation. So regulation has to be very transparent, very, very clear. And here again, not just, to just pay tribute to a government initiative, but I would like to do that. I mean, for Kids Wallet and this initiative that Greece is taking with some other European countries, it was von der Leyen that really pointed this out about the age verification process. So regulation should be there, not in fear of the developments, they are already happening, but of course with responsibility and foresight. I think these are the three words that I would
Wonderful. So responsibility and foresight, not fear. Yeah, thank you. And Chloe, let's hear your take.
It's hard to focus on just three. I kept trying to think of ones I was going over. But I think if I had to very simply say protection, not punishment. And by that I mean, we've heard a lot today about, talks of restrictions and potential bans. And, I think we certainly believe that companies should be held to account for how they treat young people in terms of privacy, safety, and security. And we have a robust, comprehensive law across Europe, the Digital Services Act, and very recently new guidelines were published on this, called Article 28 guidelines, if anyone wants to go and read them. They're very comprehensive and long, and they set out in detail what companies are expected to do when it comes to minors under 18s on their platforms. So, I think it's about the implementation of those. They're pretty new, but a lot of us have been doing that, that work for many years anyway. But it's about implementation and enforcement of those. Platforms should be held to account if they don't step up as they should. So I think it's focused on that and not about restricting young people and their freedoms.
Thanks. So we're moving on to the last question of our panel. I think that we've really heard very clearly that about how young people are using and teenagers are using digital tools and AI. They're creative, they're critical, they're accessing learning, information, and connecting. And actually that there's a very clear mandate and roadmap for the future in those insights and what we're hearing. And so to honor that mandate, just to close the panel from each of you, is there one bold commitment that you think should be prioritized to make sure that young people continue to have access to digital and AI tools and information and skills that will help them thrive? And so I was going to say you only have 3 words, but we have a bit more than that. But we would just like to be very brief with the one bold commitment.
Okay, from the media's perspective, a commitment to include teenagers in the discussion about AI, in the articles about AI, give you the voice to write those articles, share those opinions, to elevate you and your perspectives into the discussion. I think that's our responsibility.
Fantastic. So include.
Yeah.
Include. Minister.
Engage and empower. So if we are to engage the people that already, they feel very strongly because it is, of course, their reality. And if you engage them in a dialogue that it doesn't make sense, it is very much, let's say, essential to their everyday life. It is very much essential to their future job. Their future is already here, by the way, so they need to make sense of what this is about and empower, not for that to incur fear, but be able to meet with the challenges, being able to use it, not just as a self-purpose, but as a means to be able, let's say, to thrive in this new reality. So I would say engage and empower.
Fantastic, thank you.
I think I would agree about the point on fear. So, young people, it's clear, are living through a really transformative time. And with that comes so much possibility, but also a lot of unknown. And I think unknowns often lead to fear. And so I think we have to remember that children have a broad range of rights, and we have to respect all of those, from protection to freedom of speech to being heard and being participants in their active lives and online. So I think I would focus on empowerment as well.
Empowerment. Fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you very much for joining this discussion.
There's a question.
We have a couple of questions. Do we
yes.
have time for questions?
I will say she's been raising her hand for a while, so I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have one question because we have to go. You earlier said that you have equipped schools with digital boards. In our school, we don't even have the proper school facilities.
Which one is that?
It's the 4th Junior High School of Galați. Our classroom is a container. It is a classroom, but it's still a container, and we don't have half and less that the classrooms is equipped with digital boards. We have boards that to be used, we have to use chalk. And most of our teachers are of a certain age and don't know how to use AI. So is there any way that you are going to have any seminars to teach them how to use it? Because I think it's very useful.
Yeah.
And should we take one? We'll take the second question as well, so that, thank you.
Hello, so the big part of this conversation has been about AI, and the thing I would like to question is AI in education. I'm sure you guys have mentioned how AI has been beneficial in classrooms, helping students. However, one of the benefits you mentioned is how resources and informations are easier and simpler to access because of AI. However, I think that this sort of access can really not help students understand how to actively search for the information they want, which helps build critical thinking. And I think this reliance that we are forming on AI can be really damaging when it comes to the critical thinking of students. And many of you have mentioned that one of the benefits about AI in apps and other stuff is how it is very easy and accessible. However, the thing that it is replacing is something that can be done by a human. And I have seen many concerns from graphic designers, from IT, from computer science students who are worried if they can have a place in this industry after the development of AI because of how accessible it is for these companies to use this in their works. So I was really wondering, how would you combat this, and how would you reassure these people who are worried about these setbacks because of AI? So thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Because I know that you're running late, so I have your name. Sorry. No, I mean, yeah. Maria. So Maria, you mentioned a very important issue, which of course cannot be done overnight. Of course, a lot of classrooms in the Greek reality, they are actually housed in some containers because we either had lack of space, or you've had some critical setbacks in building new schools, or you also had some delays in getting the schools built. So there is a wide, array of different cases. Unfortunately, your classroom is in that. In some other areas, some new schools are being built. And I'm happy. I'm not the ones building it. But I'm happy when I, for example, visit a new school, which should be the lightest form or the least we can do for you. But so that you know, up until now, about 38,000 these digital boards have already been transferred to school. Until the end of the school year, there will be 8,000 more. So new digital boards will be, of course, transferred and given to schools. This will not solve the building issue, which is of course very difficult to be solved. If I knew more about details about your school, probably I would look into that, why it is there and which ways there are, of course, for this to be tackled with. Now, about the digital divide that we talked about with the community, of course there is a digital divide when our teachers are older. That's why we're using now some seminars and this teaching building capacity. Of course, this cannot again happen overnight, and AI is a whole new world. That's why you have your computer teachers that are usually more literate and they're quicker to receive this information. But I always believe that, you know, when you give somebody the right tools and you give them information and you include them in seminars, even when you're older and you're over, let's say, a certain age, that things are much more difficult, let's say, to be, let's say, included or understood really much better, at least they deserve a chance. So, of course, it's much more difficult for them the older they get, but I think that they come into the seminars really eager to get the information. Let me give you one example. Last week, the Minister of Education just launched a seminar for 1,000 teachers about AI. They applied in fewer than 2 hours, all of them. I mean, it's sold out. I'm not saying that we can solve things overnight, and we owe it to you to keep trying, but I'm saying that we're making an effort. And I really hope that your future classmates can have much more better infrastructure and much more, let's say, equipped classrooms in order to meet the challenges of AI and all the future challenges that we will have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up our
I'm
discussion.
happy to
but we
speak
can
to you
continue and talk
separately.
about creative industries and creative roles maybe after, if you're staying for the
Thank you.